A very good evening. I'm Mahesh Johnny and welcome to a brand new program, once again brought to you by all of us here at Derana 24. Well, Derana joined forces with our sister newspaper, The Morning, to bring you this program. The aim is very simple: give you the facts and figures of a key story which is in circulation across Sri Lanka and provide you with the information you need to make an informed decision. We're once again attempting to give you just the information, no opinion, no noise, just the facts. Simply using the words you see these days from our newspaper, The Morning: no cock, just facts. All right, this week our focus is on the government's decision to ban chemical fertilizer and to switch to an organic fertilizer immediately. 2 weeks ago, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa stated that he would ensure the importation of chemical fertilizer be banned in the near future. He noted that while the usage of chemical fertilizer leads to a better harvest, the negative consequences of its use to human life through the pollution of lakes, canals and groundwater overweigh the profit. Less than a week later, the Cabinet of Ministers approved a formal proposal submitted for this purpose. On our first show, we take a 360-degree look at this ban, the reasons behind it, the objections to it, and its implications on the agricultural sector. We investigate. According to groups working with farmers, even though farmers do not necessarily oppose the government's plan, they have doubts as to the implementation of the plan, especially due to the nature of the traditional farming methods they are accustomed to. In this regard, the Movement for Land and Agricultural Reform said that farmers are of the general opinion that the government's plan may beget many practical issues and challenges, and that the country is yet to begin a proper discussion among farmers about the implementation of this plan. Convener of the association, Chintaka Rajapaksa, said that there is a certain way farmers engage in their agricultural activities in the past 40 to 50 years, and that they look at these issues based on that experience. In this context, due to the government's hasty decision, farmers have doubts about continuing their farming activities, he said, adding that such doubts are also a result of the discrepancies between politicians' plans and the implementation of those plans in the Sri Lankan context. He noted that when it comes to implementing political decisions, most of the time, it is the general public that has to experience the adverse impact of such decisions, and that, in this case, it is the farmers who will have to endure such consequences. Meanwhile, over the past few days, certain political parties also raised concerns about the government's plan to switch to organic fertilizers, concerning themselves with the practicality and implementation of the plan. According to politician and former governor Dr. Hemakumara Nanayakkara, who is also an agriculturist who has a doctorate in organic agriculture, said that the government's plan, which he referred to as a short-sighted decision, has the potential to even push the country towards a famine. He opined that prior to taking the said decision, the government should have carefully studied the ground-level situation, taking into account the opinions of the experts in the field. He explained,
the land extent that we have been cultivated under chemical fertilizers and agrochemicals for a long time. Chemical fertilizers came into the scene after the Second World War. Before that, we had all non-chemical agriculture. Thereafter, in 1960s, Dr. Norman Borlaug, who initiated the Green Revolution, started breeding new varieties, new hybrids, which have very high responsiveness to agrochemicals, agricultural chemical fertilizers, and micro irrigation. So the present varieties that we have, let it be pumpkin, let it be chilies, let it be capsicum, tomatoes, potatoes, whatever it is. All these varieties are new, improved varieties of after the Green Revolution. These varieties cannot be grown under organic field conditions. Our traditional varieties, what we had, traditional rice varieties, traditional tomato varieties like Gorakatakali or Katugastota Wiltreston, and traditional what we imported long time ago varieties like Nantes, carrots, Detroit dark red beetroots, those things could be grown under organic conditions. This little has not been understood by the government. President has taken the decision. I'm sure President has been misled by a group of fanatics who do not understand agriculture, who have not even read the ABC of agricultural science. So this is an impossibility. Now, from the exports of tea, rubber, coconut, other export agricultural crops such as pepper, cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves, cardamoms, etc., we earn a total amount of American dollar million 2,200 American dollars as our export earnings. Whereas we spend for importation of chemical fertilizers and agrochemicals, only we spend 400 million US dollars.
He also said that this decision, if implemented without research, will create major chaos in the country and that the country will head towards a famine. The governor added that in the event of a famine, Sri Lanka will have to resort to the importation of food, as some authorities have already stated. He noted that it would not be an advisable option as most of the imported food are chemically produced.
So if we head for a famine, where can we get the food from? India is having problems due to corona. All the other food producing countries, you name it, maybe Malaysia, Indonesia, Australia, all those countries are having a will be having a problem in food production due to this corona. We get down our dal from Turkey. Turkey will have this problem. We get down various things like let's say wheat flour from various countries including US. They may have a problem in supply.
He further added that it is practically impossible because Sri Lanka's cost of production is much higher than some of the other countries that competes with Sri Lanka. The former governor also noted that importing would not be easy owing to the COVID-19 pandemic prevailing in all countries, including in mainstream food-producing countries such as India, Malaysia, Indonesia and Australia, from which Sri Lanka will likely have to import food. Further, he noted that if foreign countries came forward to assist Sri Lanka, most of the food items contain toxic substances, as commercial crops are most of the time cultivated using chemical fertilizers. He also said that some crops are difficult to be cultivated in Sri Lanka and that the country would have to import them regardless. The former governor explained.
Now the present government says that we have to go for organic agriculture immediately to produce food which are free of poison. But today we are importing wheat. Tomorrow, day after and next year, 10 years hence now, we will have to yet import wheat flour because wheat cannot be grown in Sri Lanka under our climatic conditions. So all those wheat flour is chemically produced. Now we eat lot of sauce in this country. Tomato sauce. All those tomatoes come from China and other places in form of tomato puree. All these are chemically produced. Not only that, wheat and these tomatoes and whatever the things that we import are genetically modified stuff. That is another issue.
If Sri Lanka stops chemical fertilizer only to import chemically produced food items, what is the meaning of this plan, he questioned. He also added that regardless of whether foreign countries would assist Sri Lanka in the event of a famine, the country should still face the true issues pertaining to switching to organic fertilizer. According to Chintaka Rajapaksa, there is also an issue of farmers and fertilizer sellers hoarding available fertilizer stocks, which is partially a result of the government's plan. He explained.
මේ වගේ පිටිපස්සේ දැන් මේ වගේ හදිසි තත්ත්වයන් ඇති වුණාම විශාල වශයෙන් අපි දන්නවා සමාගම් සහ මේ විශාල ඒකාධිකාරියක් තමයි මේ කුෂිකර්මාන්තයත් එක්ක රැඳිලා තියෙන්නේ. විශාල වශයෙන් ප්‍රධාන සමාගම් කීපයක් නිලධාරි කණ්ඩායමක් මේවත් එක යාන්ත්‍රණයක්. ඒතකොට මේ යාන්ත්‍රණයට වෙන අභියෝගයක් ආපු ගමන් මේ යාන්ත්‍රණය ඉතාලම අපි දන්නවා මේවා මාෆියාවක් විදිහට තමයි ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන්නේ. ඒ නිසා පොහොර හංගනවා, බීජ හංගනවා, කෘෂි රසායනික හංගනවා. මේවත් එක්ක විශාල සමාජ බීතිකාවක් හදලා මේවා ආපහු අර මේ ගන්න තීරණ වලට ඒ ආකාරයේ බලපෑමක් කරන්න පුළුවන් මට්ටමට තමයි මේ කෘෂි කර්මාන්තය තියෙන්නේ. එතකොට අපි දන්නවා දැන් මේ ඊළඟට මුහුණ දෙන්න මේ අලකන්නේ මහකන්නේ වෙනකොට මුහුණ දෙන්න තියෙන අභියෝගය තමයි විශාල වශයෙන් මේක පිටිපස්සේ ඉන්න මේ සමාගම් සහ මේ නිලධාරි මේ ඔක්කොම එකතු වෙලා මේක ඇතුලේ විශාල හිගයක් සහ මේවා කෘත්‍රිමව ඇති කරන යම්කිසි ආකාරයේ තියෙන කෘත්‍රිමව ගොඩනගන බලපෑමක් නිසා මේ ගන්න තීරණය ආපසු හැරවීම සඳහා වන කටයුත්තකට වෙනවා. එතකොට මොකක්ද ඇත්තටම මේකේ අවසාන වශයෙන් බැලුවොත් මේ වාසිය කිසිසේත්ම සමාජයක් විදිහට අපි දකිනවා කුෂිකර්මාන්තය පවත්වාගෙන යාවිතු යම් කිසි විදිහට අපි විශ්වාස කරනවා නම් ආහාර යම් කිසි විදිහට ආහාර අවශ්‍යතාවයන් සැපුරවන්නා කියලා. නමුත් අපිට පේනවා ඒ ආහාර අවශ්‍යතාවයන් වලට එහා ගිය විශාල අභියෝගයන් විනාශයන් සහ යම් කිසි බලපෑම් ගණනාවක් මේ වෙනකොට රට ඇතුලේ වර්ධනය වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා ඒවට උත්තර හොයා ගැනීම සඳහා වන තිරසාර විසඳුමකට යාමේ අවශ්‍යතාවයක් රට ඇතුලේ පැනනගිලා තියෙනවා.
All right, we are going to take a short commercial break, and when we return, more views from members who are concerned about this ban and why the government says they are on top of everything. Welcome back everyone to the Derana and the Morning Investigate. We are investigating the government's ban on chemical fertilizer as a decision to safeguard Sri Lanka's environment. Now the opposition of the view is that this should be taken in phases, but the government says they know what to do. Here's the rest of our investigation. Speaking of how to properly implement the government's plan, the former governor suggested that Sri Lanka should, first of all, identify the varieties which grow under organic agricultural conditions, and as the second step, should start organic agriculture from barren, uncultivated lands, not the lands which are being cultivated at present. Elaborating on this, Nanakar added,
The reason is a land from chemical agriculture to move into organic agriculture, at least it will take 5 years for naturalization of the soil. The soil has to be naturalized. The mycorrhizas, nitrogen-fixing bacteria, other fungi and beneficial bacteria, beneficial fungi, these things should naturally grow in the soil. In fact, we will have to culture these things and introduce to the soil to hasten the process. This kind of scientific analysis has not been done.
He further cautioned that the government, before going ahead with this plan, should obtain expert opinions. He also urged that President Rajapaksa take immediate action to revoke the decision to ban chemical fertilizers until proper research about the matter is conducted.
If he initiates that to go into organic agriculture stage by stage, every sensible person in this country would support. Otherwise, he will have the farmers who will become paupers due to this banning of agrochemicals and chemical fertilizers, will give up farming.
The former governor noted that even though organic agriculture is not a bad thing, Sri Lanka should face this process properly and go phase by phase. He said that the country should conduct proper experiments in this connection before actually implementing any plans. Meanwhile, expressing similar opinions, Chintaka Rajapaksa said,
අපි දැඩිව විශ්වාස කරනවා මේ කළ හැකි කළ යුතු වෙනස් කරන්න ඕනි වැඩපිළිවෙලක් විදිහට අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම මේ තීරණය ඉදිරියට ගත යුතු වෙනවා. හැබැයි අපිට මේ රජයේ කිසිසේත්ම විශ්වාස නැහැ. මේ රජයේ මේ තීරණ අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම ආපසු හරවනවා. මොකද මේ අත්දැකීම අපිට පෞගිය කාලේ අවුරුදු පෞගිය රජයන් පිළිබඳව ගත්ත ආණ්ඩුවල ගත්ත තීරණත් එක්කත් අපිට තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා අපි කියනවා මේක කළ හැකි වැඩක්. මේක ආපසු හැරවීම සඳහා තියෙන බලවේගය ශක්තිමත් වෙන නිසා ඒකට එරෙහිව ආණ්ඩුව යම්කිසි මාර්ග සිතියමක් සකස් විය යුතුයි.
However, despite allegations of the government does not have a proper plan, long-term plan to stop chemical fertilizers use, the authorities maintain that the government has identified the potential repercussions of switching to organic agriculture immediately and have a long-term plan in place. Here is the State Minister of Production and Supply of Fertilizer and the Regulation of Chemical Fertilizer and Insecticide Use, Mohan Priyadarshana De Silva.
පහුගිය 27 වෙනිදා තීන්දුවක් ගත්තා රසායනික පෝර සහ කෘමිනාශක ද්‍රව්‍ය අපේ රටේ කොවිතැන වෙනුවෙන් භාවිතා කරන එක සම්පූර්ණයෙන් නවත්තන්න. දැන් මේ කතිකාවතත් එක්ක අද සමාජයේ බොහෝ දෙනෙක් කියනවා මේ තීන්දුව හදිස්සියේ ගන්න නැතුව ක්‍රමානුකූලව ගත්තා නම් හොඳයි කියන කාරණය. අපේ අමාත්‍යාංශ හැටියට විශේෂයෙන්ම මහින්දානන්ද අලුත්ගම මෙතුමාගේ නායකත්වයෙන් යුක්තව අපි කාබනික පොහොර භාවිතා කරමින් වීගෝවිතන කරන්න නියම ව්‍යාපෘති පටන් ගත්තා. බහු 2020 යලකන්නේදී අපි රුපියල් මිලියන 250ක මුදලක් වෙන් කළා දුන්නා සම්බන්ධයෙන්. ඊන් පස්සේ අපි දැන් ඒ දිගින් දිගට මේ කටයුත්ත කරන් ඇවිල්ලා දැන් මේ අවුරුද්දෙත් අපි රුපියල් බිලියනයක් ඒ සඳහා වෙන් කළා තිබුණා. අපි දැකපු කාරණේ තමයි හැම අවස්ථාවෙම රසායනික පොහොර සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම යොදලා කරන වගාවට වඩා කාබනික පොහොරත් එක්ක කරන වගාවේ අස්වැන්න වැඩි කියන කාරණේ. විශේෂයෙන්ම පහුගිය කාල සීමාව පුරාවටම කාබනික පොහොර භාවිතා කළ යුත්තේ කොහොමද? කාබනික පොහොරවල අඩංගු යුත්තේ මොනවද? මේ කිසිවක් දැක්වෙන සටහනක් තිබුණේ. ඉතින් අපි දැන් මේ වෙනකොට අපි අමාත්‍යාංශ හැටියට සබරගමු විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ මහාචාර්ය ප්‍රියන්ත යාපා මැතිතුමා මූලික කරගෙන තුමා ඇතුළු තවත් අපේ විශේෂඥ කණ්ඩායමක් සම්බන්ධ කළා අපි මේ සඳහා අවශ්‍ය කරන ප්‍රොටෝකෝලය දැන් හදලා අවසන් කරලා තියෙනවා. ආයතන හැටියට අපි අපේ ජාතික පොහොර ලේකම් කාර්යාලය ඒ සඳහා වන අවශ්‍ය ආකාරයට අපි කලපල සකස් කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේ අපේ පොහොර පනත අපි වෙනස් කරලා දැන් අවසාන අධීරයේ තියෙන්නේ. ඒ වගේම විශේෂයෙන්ම අපිට තිබිච්ච මූලික ප්‍රශ්නයක් තමයි මේ කාබනික පොහොරවල ප්‍රමිතිය බලන්න අපිට හොඳ විද්‍යාගාරයක් තිබුණේ නැහැ. නමුත් අතිගරු ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ නායකත්වයෙන් අපි දැන් මේ වෙනකොටත් මාකඳුරේ අපේ විද්‍යාගාරය ඊටාම ඉහළ මට්ටමකට ගෙන්න මුදල් වෙන් කරලා ඒ අවශ්‍ය කටයුතු අපි කරගෙන යනවා. ඉතින් ඒ වගේම දැන් අපි අනිත් පැත්තෙන් අපිට කාබනික පොහොර නිෂ්පාදනය කරන නිල වශයෙන් අපිත් එක්ක ලියාපදිංචි වෙලා දුන්න සමාගම් 14යි. අපි මේ වෙනකොට ඒ සමාගම් 14 24ක් බවට පත් කරන ඒ අයගේ තොරතුරු ලබාගෙන මොකද මේ අභියෝගය අපිට මුහුණ දෙන්නේ ඊළඟ මහකන්නේදී. දැන් මහකන්නේදී අපි අපේ රටේ පොහොර අවශ්‍යතාවයට සම්පූර්ණ වශයෙන්ම කාබනික පොහොර වලින් තෘප්ත කරන්න අවශ්‍ය කරන වැඩපිළිවෙල අපි ඒත් එක්ක කතා කරගෙන යනවා.
He further said that the government had allocated a sum of 1 billion rupees to promote organic fertilizer in the country. He noted that Colombo Commercial Fertilizers Limited has been tasked with producing organic fertilizer and that the Cabinet of Ministers has granted approval to do it. He added that his ministry is working towards implementing the government's plan to switch to organic fertilizers and that in a context where Sri Lanka spends a massive amount of money for chemical fertilizer and farmers misuse chemical fertilizers by using more fertilizer than they should, this move will be beneficial to the country in many ways, including the lessening of health issues pertaining to the use of chemical fertilizers. Meanwhile, National Fertilizer Office Deputy Director Kasun Mahathantila also confirmed that the government is in the process of taking preliminary steps to promote organic fertilizer in the country. He added that certain steps in that connection were taken in the Yala season, and the farmers of around 7 districts have been issued organic fertilizers. According to Mahathantila, for the time being, it is expected to complete the overall process of switching to organic fertilizer by 2025. He noted that the process of the said small steps in the coming few seasons would have to be evaluated in order to plan and implement the future steps in this connection, and that since the ban on chemical fertilizers has not been implemented in full, the results of the steps taken would be helpful in determining the future course of action in this regard. Minister of Agriculture Mahindananda Aludgamage and his ministry were unavailable for a comment. Meanwhile, expressing concerns similar to those of Chintaka Rajapaksa and former Governor Nanayakara, Lanka Organic Agricultural Movement President Tilak Karivasam recently said that switching to organic farming is not something that can be done overnight, and that when the required soil fertility is not available, it is not possible to build it up in a short period of time. He noted that it would take 2 to 4 seasons to achieve the required soil fertility. Attempts to contact Department of Agriculture Director General Dr. W.M.W. Veerakone to inquire about the department's role in this process proved futile. However, speaking to us recently after the announcement about the government's plan, Dr. Veerakone said that even though the department does not advise anyone to use chemical or organic fertilizers, it endeavors to raise awareness about the scientific aspects of the use of fertilizers. He also noted that not only does it take time, it also causes a decline in the harvest and affect the production, and therefore it should be implemented gradually. Ending the ban on chemical fertilizer imports is being passionately debated by both sides of the political divide as well as the agricultural sector. Will the opposition to this plan fizzle out over time, allowing the government to drive forward with it? Or will the government be forced to change course and phase out the implementation of the ban? The answers lie in the future. Well, thank you very much for joining us tonight as we investigated the ban on chemical fertilizer. I'll be back again next week with another topic as Derana and The Morning investigates. Up next is Showbiz Tonight. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Mahish Johnny. Good night.